Okay, Pela, how's it? Thanks for joining me and taking time out of your day to help out. Glad to see you in an Ananda shirt there.
Yeah, it's been a long time. It's been a long time.
So, Pela, you're probably the youngest old boy I've interviewed so far. Maybe you just want to talk about your time at St. David's and even your primary school and where you came from and how it was adjusting and balance. Yeah, I'll ask you questions, but you take it away.
So for primary school, I went to Brindale. It's in Bryanston. Um, it was a co-ed school, so going from a co-ed school to an all-boys school is quite a different. It's an adjustment, obviously, because you're from obviously co-ed, seeing girls there every day to just the boys. But yeah, my adjustment wasn't too bad. I think I knew a lot of people in St. David's from my time playing soccer with them in primary school, so the adjustment wasn't as difficult. And
Were there any other boys from Brandale that came to grade 8?
it was only Tash that came.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Tash, yes, yeah.
Sorry, carry on.
Um, and then so St. David's, I loved my time there. A lovely school. I think I made a lot of memories there. I started first team soccer in grade 9, obviously, with when I was still a youngster. I was still a small boy, but I've had fun. I played for 4 years in grade 9, 10, 11, and 12, and I think it was one of the best years of my life, if I'm honest, because St. David's football is like nothing else. You can't describe it really.
And Pila, yeah, I mean, I agree. Those were good times and some good memories. Maybe you want to speak about your club football career, about where you started and where you are now, if you're still playing.
Right now.
Yeah.
So I started at Old Parks when I was maybe like in grade 1. I played in Old Parks from grade 1 to I'd say 6, and then I moved on to now it's called Super Sport Soccer Schools, but it was then called Brazilian Soccer Schools. I played there from like grade 6 to grade 7. Then from there I got scouted from Super Sport United, and they saw me and I joined the Super Sport Academy. And I played from grade 8 till grade 12, the beginning of grade 12. And then it was a lovely time. Club football is a different challenge. Play with older boys, the demands are very high there. So that is a good challenge that if anyone wants to pursue, I would challenge them to. And then now, I'll currently be studying in the USA, playing varsity football.
So when are you leaving?
I'm planning to leave on August 5th, but I'm not sure how with the coronavirus and everything, how that's going to be possible. But hopefully, August 5th is the time I'm expected to leave.
And what university are you going to?
It's called Benedictine Mesa. It's in Arizona. It's an NAI school, and yeah, I'm just going there to go play some footy.
Excellent. So I'm really happy to hear that, Pila. Maybe you can describe for me the difference in like the role you played as like a grade 9 youngster, or just describe it as your grade 9 year at St. David's playing football versus your matric year at St. David's playing football, and like what in your mind what worked and what didn't work, and yeah.
I think when you're in grade 9, obviously the biggest thing I would say, there wasn't much pressure on you. You're a youngster. The coach will throw you on when they need you on. I think there's much less pressure, but on the other side of that is that in grade 9 you really have to prove yourself every day against you playing with matrics, grade 11s, you're playing with amazing players. So you can't just think, yes, I'm here, I'm in grade 9, I'm in first team, and you think you can just coast through it, because that won't work for you. You have to work hard. You have to prove yourself to your teammates, because at the end of the day, you are the youngster. You are the young. You don't you don't deserve to be there. You have to like show that you belong there. So I think that's in grade 9. That's what you face. And in matric, obviously now you are the oldest. The pressure's on you. expectations are on you to perform, to not carry your team, but motivate your team. And obviously, me as a captain, the pressure is even more because you have to be the most motivated, the most in control, the most calm, because everyone, when times are tough, they look at you. So I think those are the differences from grade 9 to obviously grade 12.
And Pela, you played central midfielder, and you always described yourself as box to box, and you gave us some tips. And your first tip was fitness. Maybe you just want to chat briefly about that.
I think fitness is a very important part because as a box to box midfielder, you're going to be running up and down. There's no stopping. One time you're going to be expected to get in the box for that cutback, and then on the next position have to run back for the counter attack. So I think fitness is a very important part because obviously if you're not fit, firstly, you're not going to be able to make the ground. And also when you have a high level of fitness, you can keep your concentration for longer. And the more you concentrated you are and the more you can still think at a high level, the easier it's going to be playing box to box because of obviously the high demands.
Yeah, and I mean, I just find like even okay, I haven't been on the fitness track for quite some time now, but when you unfit, it almost feels like you're and you exercising hard, like your vision almost like narrows down, and
yeah, as you said, yeah, it kind of narrows down because I think the more tired you get, I think your brain finds the easiest way to do something. So instead of you looking for the through ball, your brain will just say, no, just pass to the guy right next to you because it's an easier function to do. So yeah, fitness is very important when you're playing in the center of the park.
And your next tip was good technique.
I think this one, it varies because people think great technique is just, you can, I don't know, have good ball control or, obviously you can pass. I think anyone, if you're a good player, you can pass a ball, you can control a ball. But I think good technical ability is also about knowing when to utilize those things. For example, knowing when to play a 5 meter pass or when to play a diagonal pass, or when you're in a space, when you're in a tight space in the midfield, as you often find yourself, when to take a heavy touch into space and maybe take a small touch and dribble with the ball, hold on to the ball. So I think good technical ability is also those aspects that some people might miss. They might think, I can control a ball, I can pass a ball, then that's good technical ability. But I think it goes past that to knowing which situations to maybe pass the ball firm here and sometimes, just lay it off for your teammate for a shot, So I think those things come a long way into good technical ability.
And Pila, how did you work on these things? Like for me now, I thought you were going to answer that in a different way, but so no, you answered it in the right way. But like for me, it's quite easy to coach someone how to make the pass well, how to take a good first touch. But even there, let's maybe start there. What are the little drills and things that you do outside of your training to work on just those things?
Those things. I think just to go down to basics, even with a wall and just practicing that interspace thingy, scanning before you get the ball, those little things, even though they might seem little, I think it goes a long way into, because the more you repeat scanning, checking your space, even though when there's no one there, you'll find that in a game or in training, you suddenly do it instinctually. You don't even have to think about it. So I think those things you have to put maybe I'll say a conscious effort into reminding yourself, keep doing the small things, keep scanning your shoulder, keep checking where your teammates are. And the more you do it, I think it's just about repetition. And the more you do it, the more instinctual it becomes and you don't have to think about it anymore.
Awesome. And the other side of what you said about like reading the game situation, how did you find you improved in that?
In that situation, I think it comes down to just playing. I think as you find yourself in these situations, maybe for example in training, you were in a situation and you took a bigger touch, then you realize, no, they keep on intercepting me 2-3 times. And then after the second, third time, you're like, no, let me try and keep the ball this time, see what happens. Then, when that works, your brain kind of says, okay, in that situation, maybe I need to take a smaller touch. And in this situation, maybe I need to take a bigger touch. So I think it's about, I'll say, playing, and actually getting yourself in those situations so that your brain starts to develop when to know.
Yeah, and it sounds also like, from what you're saying, also just the presence of mind to think about what you're doing out there, Yeah. Excellent. Uh, and then your third point was being the hardest worker in the team and kind of setting the tone.
Yeah, as a box-to-box midfielder, usually the hardest worker, usually the one that brings the energy to the team. You're obviously the engine of the team. So I think that's very important because sometimes you see when, for example, I'll make an example in Liverpool, when Henderson is flat or Wijnaldum is flat sometimes, the team can tend to be also flat because I think you set the tone of how the team wants to play and how the energy you bring. So I think energy is very important in a game. In St. David's, you're going to play a lot of tournament football. And trust me, energy, just you might be tired, but just showing that energy will take you a long way in your team performing and obviously overcoming the other team. So I think energy is very important as a box-to-box midfielder.
And I mean, I'm not sure if I ever told you, like, today I want you to be a box-to-box midfielder. What like advice would you give to a player? His coach says, you're playing midfield. Is then he a box-to-box midfielder? Is that his job? Is that a midfielder's job? Or
I think you're gonna have to know your strengths and weaknesses. Where you are best suited. If someone just says you play in the midfield and they didn't tell you playing 6, 8, or 10, I think you're gonna have to know what are you suited. So if you're more not as dynamic, but you're very, you have good control, great vision, maybe you need to play holding midfielder. If you like, maybe you like me, maybe can get up and down the pitch as well, but you're not as final ball orientated like a number 10. Trickery, dribbler. Then maybe like I'm a box to box, and obviously if you're number 10, you feel like you're more on the creative side, you're not that good at defending, then you lean more to the number 10 side, to the attacking midfielder side. So I think it's about knowing your strengths and knowing what you can do on the pitch.
Awesome. And then your last one was about being good at tackling. Your last point?
I think as a midfielder, especially a box to box, you're gonna find yourself having to win duels in the midfield, having to tackle. So I think good tackling is good not only because you're going to win the ball, but also not to concede needless fouls, because as fouls are very important in a game, because set pieces, as you know from playing tournament football, those things can get you goals out of nowhere. So I think being a midfielder, being able to tackle is very important because you don't want to create needless fouls, create useless fouls that might cost you the game.
And like, let's say a player's like coming at you in the midfield, and you kind of going to have to make a tackle. Like, what's going through your head in those moments?
As in that moment, if I can speak for myself, I first think, if I bring him, does he have any options? Does he have to make a decision? So if a player's running at me and I see he's got no options, maybe I don't just dive into the tackle, but actually I let him make a decision and react off that. Because sometimes if he doesn't have any options, you'll find out he's just waiting for you to dive in just so he can go past you, and all of a sudden he has a chance again. So if it's like that, maybe I'll say, no, lean off a bit, let him make a decision so that you can react to it. On the other hand, if someone has options, you have to make a decision quickly. Hey, this guy, if he releases this ball, it's going to be a dangerous situation. So then in that moment, go up on him aggressive, close up his space before he has any time to think which options are best.
Awesome. And is there anything you can suggest to get better at tackling?
I'd say, the easiest thing to say, just follow the ball, look at the ball as much as possible. There's obviously like reading his hips, seeing, but I think what I found most helpful, just don't look at the player, rather look at the ball, because at the end of the day, where the ball goes is where he's going to go. So I think that's the best situation in handling in terms of tackling situations.
Awesome, man. I think those are excellent tips, and I think really, really helpful for youngsters wanting to get better. Yeah, Pela, is there anything else you want to add, or you thought on?
Actually, in the first point, I forgot to answer your second part about what worked and what didn't work. I forgot to answer that part. I would say, if I could talk about in general what works in St. David's team, I think hard work and heart. I think if you don't have heart, if you don't work hard, I don't think you're gonna make it. You can be such a good player, but if you're not 100% committed to the team and committed to what St. David's football is trying to do, I think that's where the team's gonna fail. Because I know we've had some talented squads over the years, but when some players are not 100% committed, even though you have all the talent in the world, a team is a team at the end of the day. All 18 players have to be a part of the team.
Sure, proper. And I love that you mentioned, actually, it's all 18. It's like the whole squad. Even those guys that are like sitting on the bench for most of the time, there's going to be a time when they need to play their part. And yeah. Cool, Pela. It's great catching up with you.
It was a great time too. Thanks.
I'm so happy to hear you going to the States and you're going to carry on playing football.
Yeah.
And I hope you haven't given up on your dream of professional. I think the States is a great way to kind of carry on studying and still give yourself the opportunity to train in professional environments and have a chance. Pela, awesome. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir. Great chatting to you, sir.
Yeah, keep well, keep safe, eh?
Yeah, thank you. You too,
right,
sir.
Cheers, champ. Cheers.